Please, I just need to get to the hospital. My father.
Her voice cracked as rain poured down her designer coat, now clinging to her trembling frame. The mechanic looked up from beneath the hood of an old Chevy, his grease-stained hands pausing mid-turn. The woman standing before him didn't belong in this part of town, her expensive heels sinking into the muddy parking lot, mascara streaking down her cheeks. But it was her eyes that stopped him. They held the same desperate fear he'd seen in a mirror 3 years ago. "Ma'am, are you all right?" His voice was gentle, weathered by loss, but softened by understanding. She shook her head, words tumbling out between gasps. "My car broke down 2 miles back. No one would stop. The taxis won't come here. My father had a stroke and I—" Her composure shattered completely, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Without hesitation, he grabbed a clean rag, wiping his hands quickly. "Come on, I'll take you." The woman's eyes widened. "But your work! I can pay you, I just—" "No payment needed," he said simply, already guiding her toward his old pickup truck. "Some things are more important than money." His name was Carter Reed, 33 years old, with kind brown eyes that had seen too much sorrow for someone so young. He'd been running his father's garage alone for 3 years now, since the accident that took both his wife Lily and his father on what was supposed to be a joyful family trip to the mountains. Now he lived in the small apartment above the garage with his mother, Margaret, whose grief had aged her a decade overnight. Elena introduced herself as Elena Winters, 30 years old, though her exhausted face made her seem older. As Carter navigated the rain-slicked streets, she stared out the window, her fingers twisting her wedding ring, a habit she couldn't break even though her husband had walked out 2 years ago, leaving her with nothing but a failing company and a broken heart. Her mother had passed shortly after, and now her father was all she had left. "Take the next left," Elena whispered, then added quietly, "Thank you for this. Most people, they just drove past." Carter kept his eyes on the road. "I know what it's like to feel alone when everything's falling apart." Something in his tone made Elena turn toward him. In the dashboard's soft glow, she noticed the tan line on his ring finger, the small photograph tucked in the sun visor, a young woman with bright eyes and a man with Carter's same gentle smile. They rode in comfortable silence until Elena spoke again, her voice barely audible over the rain. "That photograph? She's beautiful." "Was," Carter corrected softly. 3 years ago. Car accident. My wife and my father. They died instantly. Sometimes I wonder if that's better than having time to say goodbye and not knowing what to say." Elena's breath caught. "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have—" "It's okay," he interrupted gently. "Grief taught me something important. We're all just trying to survive our storms. The least we can do is help each other stay dry." At the hospital, Carter insisted on walking her inside, despite her protests. As they entered the ICU waiting room, a nurse approached Elena with a clipboard. "Ms. Winters, your father's stable now. The doctor will brief you shortly." Elena's knees nearly buckled with relief. Carter steadied her, then quietly began to step away. "I should go. I hope your father recovers well." "Wait!" Elena caught his arm, her eyes urgent. "I don't even know how to thank you. Please, give me your card, your number, something. I need to repay this kindness." Carter smiled, the expression transforming his tired features. "I don't need anything. Just when you see someone else in the rain someday, maybe pull over." He pressed a worn business card into her hand, Reed's Auto Repair, with a local number, then disappeared into the night. 2 weeks passed. Carter had nearly forgotten about the encounter when a sleek black car pulled into his garage. Elena stepped out, looking different, composed, professional, her hair pulled back, wearing a sharp business suit. But her eyes held the same warmth from that rainy night. "Mr. Reed," she smiled, and Carter noticed she'd been crying recently. "I wanted to thank you properly." "Really, it was nothing," he began, but she held up her hand. "My father woke up yesterday. He's going to make a full recovery." Her voice wavered with emotion. "You gave me the most precious gift, time. Time I wouldn't have had if you hadn't helped me." She handed him an envelope. Carter opened it to find a check with more zeros than he'd seen in years. His hands trembled. "Miss Winters, I can't accept this. I didn't help you for money." "I know," Elena said softly. "That's exactly why you deserve it. But there's something else." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "That night, you told me we're all trying to survive our storms. I've been surviving, Carter, barely. My company, Winters Manufacturing, we're drowning. My husband took half our assets when he left. I've been making terrible decisions out of fear and pride, pushing away good people who tried to help." She took a shaky breath. "I've spent 2 weeks watching my father recover, thinking about what you said, about helping each other. I realized I've been so focused on not failing that I forgot how to ask for help, or how to be kind to the people working for me." Carter listened, understanding dawning in his eyes. "I came here with that check, yes, but also," Elena's voice dropped to almost a whisper, "I came to ask if you'd consider consulting for us. Our vehicle fleet, our maintenance systems, they're a disaster. But more than that, I need someone who remembers that businesses are built by human beings. Someone who leads with heart, not just ambition." Carter was quiet for a long moment, his gaze drifting to the photograph in his truck, Lily's smile, his father's proud stance. "My wife used to tell me I was too soft for business. My father disagreed. He said the world needs more people who care about doing right, not just doing well." "He sounds like he was wise," Elena said gently. "He was." Carter looked back at her, seeing past the CEO exterior to the woman who'd stood crying in the rain. "Okay, I'll help. Not because of the check, though my mother and I could use it. Because I think maybe you're right. Maybe we all need to stop just surviving and start actually living again." Over the next 3 months, something unexpected happened. Carter didn't just consult on vehicles. His practical wisdom, his genuine care for every worker he met, began transforming Winters Manufacturing's entire culture. Elena found herself calling him for advice on personnel decisions, ethical dilemmas, operational challenges. But the real transformation was in Elena herself. Watching Carter interact with her employees, learning their names, asking about their families, solving problems with patience instead of pressure, she remembered why she started her company in the first place. Not for profit, but to build something meaningful. One evening, as they reviewed quarterly reports in her office, Elena set down her pen and looked Carter directly. "Can I tell you something?"
Of course. That night in the rain, I was coming from my therapist. She just told me I was having a breakdown, that I needed to slow down, to accept help. I was so angry, I stormed out and started driving. Then my car broke down, and I thought it was the universe punishing me for being weak. Her eyes glistened. But you didn't see weakness when you looked at me. You saw someone who needed help, and you helped. No judgment, no conditions. You reminded me that asking for help isn't weakness, it's human. Carter's throat tightened. Elena, that night helped me too. I'd been stuck, just going through motions. Helping you reminded me that I still had something to give, that grief doesn't have to be the end of living. She reached across the desk, her hand covering his. Not romantic, something deeper. Recognition. 2 people who'd survived their separate storms, learning to navigate calmer waters together. "My father wants to meet you," Elena said suddenly. "He keeps saying he needs to thank the man who gave him more time with his daughter." 6 months after that rainy night, Carter stood in Elena's hospital room. Not the ICU this time, but a recovery wing, where her father, William, sat up in bed, looking frail but alert. "So you're the mechanic," William said, his voice rough but warm. "Elena tells me you saved her life." "I just gave her a ride, sir," Carter replied humbly. "No," his gaze was sharp, assessing. "You gave her something she'd lost. Hope, humanity. She came to see me that night, and for the first time in 2 years, my daughter wasn't just surviving, she was feeling again." He turned to Elena, who stood by the window, watching the rain, so similar to that first night. "Sweetheart, come here." Elena approached, and William took both their hands, placing them together. "I'm 83 years old. I've built companies, made fortunes, lost fortunes. You know what I've learned?" He looked between them. "The richest people aren't the ones with the most money. They're the ones who know how to give without expecting anything back, who help strangers in the rain, who turn pain into compassion." Carter's eyes burned. "My father used to say something similar. He'd say, 'Son, fix cars with your hands, but serve people with your heart.'" "He raised you right." Then to Elena, "This man didn't help you because you're a CEO. He helped you because you're a human being who needed help. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever become someone who wouldn't have stopped for herself." Elena's tears fell freely now. "I won't, Dad. I promise." A year after that rainy encounter, Winter's manufacturing had transformed. Employee satisfaction was at an all-time high. Profits had increased, not because Elena drove people harder, but because she learned to lead with Carter's quiet wisdom. Treat people well, and they'll build something beautiful together. Carter still ran his garage, but now he also served as Winter's Director of Human Operations, a title he'd laughed at initially. "I fix cars and treat people right. That's not a fancy job." But Elena had insisted, "That's exactly the job we need." One evening, as they locked up the factory together, Elena paused by her car, a sensible sedan now, not the luxury vehicle that had broken down a year ago. "Carter, can I tell you what that night really meant to me?" He turned, gentle curiosity in his eyes. "When my husband left, he said I was too broken to love, that I'd let my mother's death turn me cold, that I cared more about success than people." Her voice wavered. "I believed him, until you proved him wrong. You showed me that kindness still exists, that I could still feel, that I was worth saving." Carter's throat tightened. "You saved yourself, Elena. I just reminded you who you really were." She smiled through tears. "We saved each other then, two people drowning in different storms, throwing each other a lifeline." They stood in comfortable silence as rain began to fall, gentle this time, not the punishing downpour of the first night. "You know what's strange?" Carter mused. "That night, I almost didn't stop. I was so tired, so lost in my own pain. But something in your eyes, it was like looking in a mirror. I saw my own fear reflected back." "And you stopped anyway," Elena whispered. "That's what makes you extraordinary." "No," Carter shook his head. "That's what makes us human. We all have that choice, to see someone suffering and turn away, or to reach out even when we're suffering too." Elena looked up at the rain, then back at Carter. "My father's coming home next week. He wants to throw a dinner for you, your mother, the people that matter. Will you come?" "We'd be honored." As Carter drove home that evening, past the exact spot where Elena's car had broken down a year ago, he thought about Lily, about his father, about how grief had nearly consumed him, turning him into a ghost in his own life. But that rainy night, that single choice to help a stranger, had cracked open something inside him. It reminded him of his father's last words before that fatal trip. "Son, the measure of a life isn't what we accumulate, it's what we give away freely." The following week, in William's restored home, Carter sat with his mother, Margaret, and watched Elena laugh with other guests. The old woman squeezed her son's hand.
"Your father would be so proud," she whispered. "You found your purpose again." Carter nodded, his throat tight. "I think I found it that rainy night, Mom, when I remembered that our pain can make us bitter, or it can make us kind." Across the room, Elena caught his eye and raised her glass in a silent toast. Carter returned the gesture, understanding passing between them without words. Later, as the evening wound down, William called for attention. "I want to share something," the old man said, his voice stronger now. "A year ago, my daughter was losing herself to despair. I was dying, possibly without ever seeing her smile again. Then a mechanic with grease under his fingernails and grace in his heart chose kindness over convenience."
He looked at Carter. "You didn't just give her a ride. You gave both of us another chapter. You reminded us that the world still holds good people. People who help not for reward, but because it's right." The room fell silent, every person touched by the raw emotion in William's words. Elena stood, her voice steady now. "My father's right. Carter, you changed my life by doing something beautifully simple. You saw someone in need and you helped. No hesitation, no conditions, just pure human kindness." She turned to address everyone. "This year taught me that true success isn't measured in quarterly earnings. It's measured in the lives we touch, the kindness we show, the humanity we preserve, even when the world tries to harden us." Carter rose, humbled. "I'm just a mechanic who gave someone a ride, but I learned something too, that helping others heals us, that kindness isn't weakness, it's the strongest thing we have." He paused, emotion flooding his voice. "That rainy night, I was surviving, barely, just going through the motions, lost in grief. But choosing to help Elena, it reminded me that I'm still alive, still capable of making a difference, even a small one." "It wasn't small," Elena said softly. "It was everything." As the gathering ended, Elena walked Carter and Margaret to their car. The rain had stopped, leaving the air fresh and clean. "Thank you," Elena said simply, echoing her first words to him, "for stopping when others didn't." Carter smiled, the same gentle expression from that first night. "Thank you for reminding me why I should." They stood together, two people forever changed by a moment of kindness on a rain-soaked road. Two lives transformed not by grand gestures, but by the simple choice to help another human being. As Carter drove away, Elena whispered to the night, "I'll never drive past someone in need again. I promise." In a world that often feels cold and disconnected, the greatest act of revolution is simple kindness. It costs us nothing, but gives everything. It transforms not just the person receiving it, but the person offering it. Because in choosing to help others, especially when we're struggling ourselves, we remember our own humanity. We're all just trying to survive our storms. The least we can do is help each other stay dry. And sometimes, the stranger you help in the rain becomes the person who helps you find yourself again. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.